What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, back some more Elder Scrolls Legends, and today we've got another batch of Isle of Madness cards to talk about. I think we've got like 6 today we're going to go over. So without further ado, let's just get on into it. You know how we've been doing it. We're going to talk about the cards, give it a rating, synergies, all that jazz. First one was revealed by Earlmeister earlier in the week, or late last week. It's Knight of the Order. It's a 4-cost 2/2 purple Daedra. Summon silence all other creatures in this lane. So AoE silence is pretty solid. Silence is already pretty good in this game. Pretty common. You got Earthbone Spinner, Shadowfen Priest, and Halalu Sharpshooter that already see a ton of play. Knight of the Order is the first multi-silence that we've gotten hands on besides Red Brahmin. Red Brahmin being a unique legendary and obviously better than this card. But Knight of the Order can come down 5 turns earlier. As well as, it does have a downside. The stats obviously aren't great. A 2/2 is meh. Especially for 4, it's super meh. It's actually pretty bad. And you do have the benefit of silencing all other opposing creatures. And the downside or benefit, depending on your deck, of silencing your creatures as well, since it's all other creatures in this lane. Now, when I say potential downside or potential benefit, I'm speaking obviously of self-silence decks. If you're playing decks with like Imprisoned Deathlord, Corrupted Shade, what other ones are there? Siege Catapult to an extent. Cards that really benefit from being silenced. Usually those decks struggle because you have to spend multiple cards silencing your own cards just to turn on your own cards to swing. So that makes the deck not really worth it usually because you're spending so many cards to turn on a card. So like Imprisoned Deathlord, if I play Imprisoned Deathlord plus a silence effect, I'm playing 2 cards just to really get use out of 1 card. And yeah, maybe I get an Earthbone Spinner down, but then I'm paying 8 Magicka to waste a silence and just to turn on a 7/7. So at that point it winds up not very good. Knight of Order can actually be really solid in that regard. You can silence multiple of your creatures as well as silencing your opponent's creatures, getting guards out of the way, removing stat buffs. I don't think this card is going to see play in a ton of decks because of the self-silence fact, and there's just not a ton of decks that are playing a bunch of like buffs and stuff like that to where you get a ton of value out of this card. But I do think this card is solid, and I think this card actually does a lot for self-silence, either Warrior or Sorcerer being the 2 main ones. Previously, like I said, those decks could high roll and do really, really well, but just it wasn't consistent enough, and you had to spend too many resources to make it happen. So I think this card could actually make one of those decks much more viable, if not a thing, closer to being a thing than they've ever been before. For that reason, I'm going to give this card like a 2.5 to 3-star rating. I do think that this card could be a 3 to 3.5-star card in the correct meta. I just don't think the meta that we're in currently really plays into this card's strengths. So at the current moment, I think it's a on the weaker side card, although I really like the effect and some of the things it enables. But this is one of those cards that I would say keep an eye on for the future. Next up, this was revealed during Warp Meta this past Sunday. Lady Seal's Cruelty, 2-cost action, sacrifice a creature to gain Magicka this turn equal to its power. In my little like custom card, thought-provoking kind of thing I like to do on the side, this is an effect that I always thought about. My mind always went to get some sort of power equal to the creature you sacrificed cost back. And part of the reason was I always was partially worried about how strong choosing power or health could be. But the more I think about this card, the more I think it's kind of like it's obviously a potential combo piece. In the right combo deck, you could do something like play this on a Bog Lurcher and gain 9 Magicka for sacrificing the Bog Lurcher. And yeah, that sounds crazy. You're getting 9 Magicka for spending 2, but you're spending 2 cards to do it. You wind up with a net 7 of Magicka, and you killed the creature to do it. So you're kind of really just going all in on that 7 or 9 Magicka play. So is that super worth it? I guess depending on the deck, but it's not one of those things that you can just slam into most decks and it's going to be amazing. It's much more all-in than when you first think about the card. this card can win you some games early by playing it, and then sometimes you're going to play it and try and rush out some higher impact card, and it's going to get javelined, and you're going to be like 3 cards down trying to go all in. So in practical effects, this card's like a 1.5 to 2 star card, but I'm going to give it 2.5 stars because of the combo potential. I'm not the greatest player at thinking these combos up and figuring out how to, like, I would have never came up with Nyx Ox OTK, but I'm sure that one of these smarter players is going to take this card and just do something insane with it. So for that reason, I'd say it's probably a 2.5-ish star card, and maybe we wind up hating this card over the coming months because of a combo deck that comes out of it. Next up, we've got Gates of Madness. This was revealed by Hiking Emmerich in a bit of a meme reveal, and in true fashion, this is a bit of a meme card. It's kind of a just for fun card for the most part. Gates of Madness, 3-cost support. Transform your entire deck into random cards. When you draw a creature or item, you give it +1/+1. When you draw an action or a support, you reduce its cost by 1. So obviously this card's pretty bad. Yeah, you're buffing things and reducing costs, but there's no synergy in your deck. There's no way to guarantee that you're going to draw anything useful. You could just draw, like, items for the rest of the game and not be able to play anything. So yeah, you're playing this card for fun. Absolute fun, no other reason but to have fun. It's kind of like a Dragon Mound deck. I know you could try to make Dragon Mound even... Dragon Mound is probably more viable than this, because at least that's consistent. This is just pure randomness. This is like a 1-star card. I'll give it a 1.5 stars for fun rating, but it's a 1-star card. That's literally just here for fun. Next card is Praying Elytra. I don't know how to pronounce this creature's effect. But it's a 4-cost 2/4. Summon, choose an enemy creature. When this creature damages the chosen creature, you draw 2 cards. So this is a pretty powerful little draw engine in itself. You could do something like try and hope this card sticks for a turn, and then do like a Archer's Gambit plus swing, and that's a 2-card draw 4 cards play. Even better if this card can survive for multiple swings. You can get 2, 4, 6 plus whatever cards. So that's pretty solid. If you have things like... Oh no, you can't even rapid shot this guy. It's literally just battle effects, rage, swinging, and pings that are going to turn this guy on. So it kind of keeps it in line, because obviously drawing 2 cards whenever you damage a creature is incredibly strong. And you're going to want to try and balance that. Like, yeah, you can choose a token, but more than likely you're only going to be able to kill that token, hurt the token one time, and you get 2 cards with it, and that's still probably fine. But if you wanted to get multiple triggers, you have to choose something with more life or even more attack. And then at that point, you may just lose this card. But the way the summon effect is worded, even if it trades not on your turn, you're going to draw 2 cards. So I think this card is solid. A 4-cost 2/4 obviously can't be run in every single deck. And green has a lot of ways to draw, so it's going to see some competition. But I could see some situations where I'd rather run this rather than Corner Club Gambler. Just because if this thing gets lightning bolted as soon as you play it, it feels a lot less bad to not draw the 2 cards from this card than if Corner Club Gambler comes down, you discard a card and you lose it. So you're net -2 cards, whereas this one you're only -1. So I could see a world where this card sees a decent amount of play in certain decks. Again, I can't think of many of those decks off the top of my head. Just because of the current meta we find ourselves in, but hopefully that meta will be changing very much in the next couple days. So I'm going to give this card a solid 3 stars. It's got more potential than 3 stars. I'm just going to give it 3 stars at the moment because I thought Corner Club Gambler was worse than it wound up being at the end of the day. I wound up being kind of way wrong on that card. And I think in many, not all situations, this card is better than Corner Club Gambler. Obviously not all. But I still think this card has potential. Next up, we've got another double card to review. Feldu and Elytra Noble. So Feldu is a 2-cost action. Give a creature lethal this turn. So it's kind of like the Skooma Racketeer effect. But Skooma Racketeer is permanent. This is just 1 turn. And then the Elytra Noble is a 6-cost 4/6 with lethal. To compare it... Clockwork Scorpions, a 6 cost 3/7 with lethal and drain. So obviously Scorpion's better all around. So you're basically playing this for a lethal deck. If you're a deck that's all in on lethal, you can play this card. Or if you're a deck that sometimes considers running Scorpion for the big body and the lethal, you can consider running this because you get a free fill due out of it, and then you can get some bonus lethal action. I think this is arguably the worst double card revealed so far. Not that either card is bad, it's just you can run the 6 cost Noble, or you can run the 6 cost Scorpion. And then if I'm going to run Feldu, I'd rather just run Skooma Racketeer for one more and get a 2/2 body out of it, and the lethal's permanent. I'd give this like probably 2 stars. If lethal decks wind up better again, maybe this gets a little bit of a boost. But yeah, maybe it's solid in Arena for getting removal, and if you don't find yourself a Scorpion. But as far as making it into like regular constructed decks, I don't think this is really going to cut it. And then the last card we're going to talk about today was revealed by Jage. Where is it? Here it is. Wake of the Dead. It is a 2-cost action. Draw a spirit or skeleton creature of your choice from your deck and give it +0/+1. So targeted draw obviously is pretty strong. You're paying 2 for it, which is about on pace. Some key cards that you might want to pull with this: Haunting Spirit, Skeleton Champion, Bone Daddy, Skeletal Dragon, Morokai if you're playing a singleton deck. So this card is solid. It plays into tribal decks, which I obviously love. Skeleton decks, having a way to make sure you draw either your Bone Daddy or your Skeletal Champion is obviously really, really strong. So if those decks get a little bit of a boost, I'm all for it because those decks are fun. But then you also have the non-meme potential of maybe a mid-range deck wanting to make sure they can pull their Bone Daddy for a end-of-curve play. Your Dragon deck making sure you pull Skeletal Dragon, or even if you're just a discard or graveyard deck, pulling your Skeletal Dragon solid. I think this card is decent. I give it a thumbs up for the tribal turn-on ability. I just don't think this is going to be that powerful and constructed, unless there winds up being some sort of undead combo. I think I remember reading somebody say Wisp Mother is a spirit, but most Wisp Mother decks don't run purple, I don't think. So that kind of makes it tougher on that front, unless you did like a Wisp Mother Sorcerer or playing Blood Sorceress. So yeah, this card gets a lot better if it finds its way into a combo deck that's looking for a spirit or skeleton for a combo. But at the moment, it's kind of a tribal synergy turn on, or a less than great way to make sure you draw a key spirit or skeleton in a other deck, but it's not going to be that great in that front because it's a little slow for that. But yeah, I think it's a fine card. I'd give this card 2.5 stars. If skeletons get even better, this card could go up to a 3 or 3.5, but at the moment, I'd give this card a 2.5 stars. But yeah, that's going to be it for this batch of reveals. Let me know what you guys think and what you guys would score these cards down below in the comments section. We're a couple days away from Isle of Madness. I am so excited. Oh, I can't wait, guys. But yeah, thank you guys all very, very much for watching. I'm DragonTamerBlayde, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.